Hey everyone, today I'm with Santiago Gutierrez of GoBone, who was actually on the very first ever episode of ProjectUX that we have now just re-released on our channel. And we wanted to talk with him today about his company, where his design is at, and what it was like coming on the show back almost 2.5 years ago, actually over 2.5 years ago. Well, thanks for coming today, Santiago.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about GoBone. What is it? What does it do?
Sure. So just to introduce myself, my name is Santiago Gutierrez. I'm the founder and CEO of GoBone Incorporated, and we make it easier for pet parents to care for and engage their pets no matter what's going on in their lives.
Well, that sounds fun. Tell me about this nifty device here, which I think is your product, correct?
Yes, so this is GoBone. This is the world's first smart bone for dogs. So you know how you have your smartphone to keep you busy during the day? Well, now your dog has their very own smart bone to do the very same thing. So think of this as a Roomba, but instead of vacuuming your floors, it's actually taking care of your dog, it's entertaining your dog and exercising your dog.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I can even notice it looks quite different than when you came on the show.
Oh yeah.
The color's different, just it's not see-through like part of it was before. Let's go back in time a little bit, 2.5 years ago. What do you remember about your experience coming on the show?
It was an amazing experience just because I was very new to the space. I was new to the product itself, trying to figure out what our customers wanted to see in the product. And getting the feedback from the experts was, we really took it to heart, and I think that it made our product a lot better.
Tell me just kind of about what that day was like. What do you remember?
I remember, we were very early stage at that point, and the prototype that I brought out, the one with the orange wheels, I had actually created that myself, both the hardware and the software. And I just remember thinking, man, I'm going to get chewed out here by these experts because I'm sure I neglected a million things here with the user experience. But it ended up being completely the opposite. I learned a ton. It was a lot of fun. I made some great connections with the folks that were there, and it was a great experience overall.
Let's take real quick a look back at a little segment with James and Kalia, and they talk about the UI of GoBone, and I'd love to get your feedback on what you thought of that. So here we go.
So each wheel is controlled independently by each thumb.
Okay.
So if I want to make it move in a circle, in a wide circle, I just use one thumb to do so. But if I want to move forward, both thumbs go forward. If I want to move backwards, both thumbs go backwards.
So I'm seeing on the screen that the feedback of the motion, but I see that as long as your thumb is on one of the pieces, that whole side is lighting up, not necessarily if it's forward or backwards. So I would consider giving the user a bit more feedback as far as whether they're going forward or backwards, not just which wheel they're using.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as far as the interaction goes, do I have to put my thumbs on those particular sliders, or can it be anywhere on that half of the screen?
At the moment, it's on these sliders.
So I would consider just removing such a focused touch point, and if you just use that third of the screen, and anywhere there that I put my thumb down, kind of starts where the starting point of that is. So that way I don't have to look at the screen in order to play with it. I can just look at the toy and start moving it around.
So one of the greatest pieces of feedback that I got was that the user might not necessarily want to be staring at their screen while they're playing with GoBone and their dog. And I thought that was a brilliant setup for us to incorporate some sort of control, limited control, where you can pay attention to your dog and what they're doing, but at the same time control GoBone. So we ended up splitting the control scheme into 3 pieces, you could think of it as. One where you have full manual control, another where you have more limited control, where you get to pay more attention to your dog, and then finally we have autoplay, where it's completely autonomous and you can just enjoy your dog playing with its GoBone.
That's awesome. How long did it take you to develop, this application and get all those features in there?
Probably took us around 8 months. There was a lot of testing. As you know, we don't just have a human user, we also have a dog user.
That's quite an interesting use case from a UX perspective.
Yes, we have many folks and animals to keep happy, so we had to make sure that the solution converged on something that they both really enjoyed.
So tell me about your user testing. What have you kind of done in the past, and what are you doing right now?
So in the past, it was more, hey, let's get this product out. Let's get the MVP out and see if the market is receptive to a product like GoBone. And once we determined that that was the case, we went back and took a look at our analytics, how our customers were using the application in order to guide our roadmap, try to determine, hey, is autoplay a more popular feature? Is group play a more popular feature? Once we got more information on how our product was being used, it teed it up for a second version, a revision of our application to ensure that we were taking our customers' feedback into account and making the product better with the next iteration.
Well, that's a good UX process,
Yes.
And it's so valuable for companies to really be paying attention to that customer feedback. I know you're working on some, new features and designs. You've obviously been at this for, probably at least 3 years now. And, tell us about kind of where the future of this product is headed and where the, your UX is going.
I think the most important thing is creating a great user experience, not only for the human user, but also for their dog. And in order to create a great user experience for both, I think of it in terms of the app, which is the main interface for the human, and the actual product, which is the main interface for the dog. For the dog, when GoBone is in autoplay, we are working on some software in the background that will let GoBone know exactly where your dog likes to play, when your dog likes to play, and how your dog likes to play for the most custom-tailored product anywhere for your dog to play with. And from the user's perspective, we're adding a ton of functionality that our users have been requesting. They want more features, but not only that, they want more control over how GoBone works. And that's what we want to give our users.
Where are you currently in this design process? Like, I know we spoke just recently and you said you were, rounding the corner on kind of getting I think you're in the prototyping stage, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about where you're at.
Sure, so like I mentioned earlier, we've taken a look at all the user feedback that we've received, as well as our own perceptions of the product after having used it for the few years that it's been on the market. And we have rolled all that up into a version 2 of our app that we're currently working on. We have completed our wireframes, and now we're actually working on the actual Envision prototype. And once we get that prototype done, we would like to get it tested by a few users to make sure that everything is as we thought it should be, or as we think it should be. And from there, we'll be able to engage with the developer and actually build it out. Now, our product is a little different from a lot of other folks' product in the sense that a lot of other folks just have an app, but we have an app plus a physical product. So there are more iterations in order to get to the right solution for our users than what may typically be required, because, for example, we might have to tweak the speed for the wheels. Maybe one speed is a little too fast, so we have to prototype different ways to control GoBone, for example, in order to make sure that, for example, it's not zooming past your kitchen table and knocking something down.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes on. We have to work hand in hand, not only with the app, with the UI, UX for the app, but also the software that runs on the GoBone itself. Make sure there's a happy marriage there and the product is doing what it's supposed to.
One thing I want to talk about is just kind of, you're an entrepreneur, you've been working on this for a long time. What are some of the major successes that you've had on GoBone? I know you've had a Kickstarter, but maybe you could tell us a little about that and anything else kind of with the traction you've developed.
Sure. So Kickstarter was a great way to, of course, kickstart what we did. We raised $186,000 on Kickstarter, which we're really proud of. Last year was a big year for us. We are now on Amazon, so we signed Amazon on as a customer. We also got named to Oprah's Favorite Things list of 2017,
Wow.
which was a very big deal and really helped our sales. And this year, just a few weeks ago, I am in the June edition of D Magazine,
Saw that.
which is also pretty cool. It's nice to be recognized here locally for the work we're doing here with GoBone.
I'm curious, are there any other kind of looking back things that you kind of, learned just from experience, maybe some missteps or just sort of, roadblocks that you encountered that you might be able to give advice to other entrepreneurs on?
Sure. So one big thing, I wish that we would have gathered more analytics. And it's always a tough thing to choose between, do we launch now or do we launch here in a few weeks or a few months versus do we wait another 6 months or a year because we have to integrate all these analytics into our app or our product. And looking back on it, I think it was the right decision. We needed to get to market. But at the same time, I wish that we would have integrated a few more analytic hooks just so that we can understand how our users are using our product better. And of course, the types of decisions that we're making now, which is where do we want to go with the product, right? Do folks like the autonomous nature of it more than the ability to play with your phone with GoBone? And those are fundamental questions that you need to plan ahead for and make sure that you've got the right hooks at least to answer those big questions when you do come out with your product.
What works the best for you so far as marketing?
So far, influencers have worked very well. Influencers have worked very well because they're excited about the product. They see the value that it provides in their own lives with their own dogs, and it's contagious. That excitement is contagious.
What's your best influencer channel? Is it Instagram or?
Instagram has worked really well, and Facebook has worked very well too.
Okay, cool. What is your long-term vision, for your company? Do you have any other products in store? Where do you sort of see this going in, the many years ahead?
Our goal has always been to make it easier for pet parents out there to care for and engage their pets, no matter what's going on. We're all busy, and we'd all like different tools that don't replace you in the relationship between you and your dog, but enable you to be a better pet parent. And one way, of course, we're doing that is with GoBone, a great tool to exercise and entertain your pet. We're also coming out with a smaller version of GoBone, and this smaller version will be geared towards dogs that are 20 pounds or less. So we're very excited about that. We think it'll be a great experience for smaller dogs. What my vision ultimately is to create an ecosystem of intelligent pet products that not only interact with you and your pet, but also with each other to create an experience that you just can't find anywhere else.
Santiago, what does UX mean to you?
What does UX mean to me? UX to me is the feeling that you get when you interact with our product. It's, you know how they say that folks might not necessarily remember what you said, but how you made them feel? That's what we strive after. We just want to make sure that we make people feel good about having purchased our products and that they enjoy it from here on out.
That is so well said, and I love it because they do talk a lot about emotion in UX and building empathy with your users and creating those moments of delight is like really one of the primary goals of having a great user experience, because when you bring about someone's emotions, that's when you start fostering connections, and that's how someone becomes passionate about products and you build word of mouth and things like that. So yeah. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me through this today. So I guess we're going to sign off for now. That's been Santiago talking with GoBone, and again, it's been a pleasure, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So cheers, everyone.